First contact incident. The alert blared across the command nexus of Outpost Valorous 9, causing Senior Commander Talvesh's sensory membranes to flutter in agitation. The massive crystalline display dominating the central platform shifted from serene azure to urgent crimson as data streams poured in from the sector's perimeter sensors. Unidentified vessel has breached the outer boundary of Sector 87 Delta, announced the synthetic voice of the station's eye. Classification: military. Origin: Sol system. Talvesh's four-fingered hands tightened around the command rail. Humans? Here. The words escaped in a hiss of disbelief. The Galactic Concordat had established clear boundaries after the Proxima incident. No human military vessels were permitted beyond the Arcturus line. Verify and confirm, he ordered, his tall, slender frame straightening to its full 3 meters. The glow from his bioluminescent skin ridges intensified, a physiological response to stress that his species, the Veshtai, had never evolved away despite millennia of genetic refinement. Confirmation complete, replied Sub-Commander Leary from her monitoring station. Her manipulator appendages danced across the neural interface. It's a human warship, classified as a destroyer-class vessel. Sensors identify it as the UES Defiant. Talvesh's tertiary eyes narrowed while his primary pair remained fixed on the display. The Defiant. Access Xenopolitical Archives. I want all available information. The display shimmered, and data cascaded across its surface. Talvesh absorbed the information with growing concern. The UES Defiant was not just any human vessel. It was their newest prototype, commanded by Captain Elena Reyes, a decorated veteran of the Mars Uprising. What was most disturbing was that intelligence reports indicated this ship should still be undergoing trials in their home system. They're on a direct course for the Helios mining colony, Leary added, her voice dropping to a concerned murmur. A cold realization settled over Talvesh. The Helios colony, where the Concordat was holding 73 human colonists detained after they accidentally crossed into disputed territory 3 lunar cycles ago. The diplomatic channels were still processing the incident. Open a communication channel, he ordered. Standard protocol warnings. The communication officer complied, and moments later, the enormous display split to reveal the bridge of the human vessel. Talvesh found himself staring at a human female with dark hair pulled tightly back from her face, skin the color of the rich soils of Vestus Prime, and eyes that held an unsettling intensity. This is Senior Commander Talvesh of Galactic Concordat Outpost Valorous 9. You have entered restricted space in violation of the Arcturus Treaty. Withdraw immediately or face consequences according to Concordat law. The human's expression didn't change. When she spoke, her voice carried a calm authority that Talvesh found unexpectedly disquieting. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth Ship Defiant. We are aware of our position, Commander. I'm here regarding the 73 Earth citizens you're holding at the Helios facility. Talvesh's membranes fluttered again. The directness was typical of humans. No diplomatic niceties, no proper protocols of introduction. Just demands. Those individuals violated sovereign Concordat space and are being processed according to interstellar law. Your presence here only complicates matters and constitutes a severe treaty violation. Let me simplify the situation for you, Reyes replied. Those colonists' navigation systems were compromised by a spatial anomaly your people failed to report. Their violation was not intentional, and you've been holding them for over 90 days without communication or proper legal representation. The legal processing period for incursions is 120 standard cycles, Talvesh countered, feeling increasingly uncomfortable with this exchange. Your government has been notified through appropriate channels. Those channels seem to be suffering from significant delays, Reyes said with what humans called a smile, though Talvesh had studied enough xenopsychology to recognize it contained no warmth. We've come to expedite the process. The tactical officer interrupted with urgent information. Commander, we're detecting active scanning from the human vessel. They're probing our defensive systems and mapping the entire sector. This was escalating too quickly. Captain Rice, cease all scanning activities immediately. This is your final warning. I should warn you, Commander, Rice said, leaning forward slightly, that the Defiant isn't alone. We have assets already in position throughout this sector. I strongly suggest you arrange for the immediate release of our people. Assets? The tactical display showed only the single human ship. Could they have somehow deployed forces covertly? Human technology was considered primitive by Concordat standards, but they were notoriously unpredictable. Sir, the tactical officer called out again, this time with a trace of alarm in her voice. The human vessel is deploying something. Hundreds of small objects. Weapon systems online. Talvesh ordered, raise defense fields to maximum. They're not weapons, the officer corrected herself after a moment. They appear to be probes. Unmanned devices dispersing throughout the sector. On the display, Captain Rice remained composed. Those are simply observation drones, Commander. Standard protocol when entering potentially hostile space. Recall them immediately, Talvesh demanded. This intrusion will not be tolerated. I'm afraid I can't do that, Rice replied. Now, about our colonists. Talvesh cut the communication with a sharp gesture. Alert all outposts in the sector. I want 3 cruisers diverted here immediately, and contact the hierarchical command. Inform them we have a potential conflict situation with the humans. Commander, Leary interjected, her voice carrying unusual tension. I've been analyzing their deployment pattern. These drones aren't random. They're establishing a grid that seems designed to. She hesitated. To what? To map our sensor blind spots and communication relays. It's almost as if they're preparing for a larger operation. Talvesh stared at the tactical display where the single human ship hung in space, surrounded by the expanding cloud of tiny drones. One ship, a primitive human vessel against the might of the Concordat. Yet something about this scenario felt wrong. Re-establish communication, he ordered. Captain Rice appeared on the display once more. Have you reconsidered, Commander? Captain Rice, you must understand your position. You are one vessel in Concordat space, surrounded by our forces. Whatever you're planning cannot succeed. Withdraw now, and we can resolve the colonist situation through proper diplomatic channels. Rice nodded thoughtfully. One ship, yes, but you see, Commander, throughout human history, we've learned that it's not about the size of the force, but how you use it. Her dark eyes fixed on him. You have 1 hour to begin the release process for our colonists, or I will be forced to demonstrate why the Defiant was named as such. The communication ended from the human side this time. Arrogance, muttered one of the officers. Talvesh wasn't so certain. He had studied enough human military history to know they rarely engaged in direct confrontation without a plan, and Captain Rice's reputation suggested she was particularly adept at asymmetric warfare. Senior Commander, Leary called out, her tone now unmistakably alarmed. The drones have reached the Helios colony. They're establishing positions around the detention facility. Order the colony to destroy those drones immediately, Talvesh commanded. They're trying, sir, but the drones are employing some kind of countermeasures that our systems can't lock onto. This was escalating too quickly. Talvesh activated his personal neural link to the hierarchical command, requesting emergency guidance. The response came swiftly. Contain the situation. No concessions. Reinforcements dispatched. He took a deep breath, considering his options. The humans were clearly planning something, but what could one ship possibly hope to accomplish? Sir, Leary's voice cut through his thoughts. I've analyzed Captain Rice's service record more thoroughly. During the Mars uprising, she commanded a single frigate against 3 corporate dreadnoughts. She prevailed. Against superior forces. How? The records are classified, but reports suggest she employed unconventional tactics that exploited fundamental weaknesses in theoretically superior technology. Talvesh felt a chill run through his body. The Concordat had always viewed human technology as primitive, relying on brute force rather than the elegant solutions of more advanced civilizations. But what if that perception was a vulnerability in itself? "Maintain alert status," he ordered. "I want continuous monitoring of the Defiant and all those drones. If anything changes, I want to know immediately." As the command center buzzed with activity, Talvesh found himself staring at the image of the human ship on the display. It looked so small, so insignificant against the vastness of space and the might of the Concordat. Yet something told him that this encounter was far from over, and that Captain Alina Reyes had not come unprepared. The clock was ticking. 57 minutes remained until the human's deadline expired. Talvesh had a feeling that whatever happened then would reshape more than just this border dispute. It might change the Concordat's understanding of humanity forever. The impossible ship. Arch-strategist Vorlak arrived at Outpost Valoris 9 with exactly 17 minutes remaining on Captain Rice's ultimatum. The tall, gaunt Zethrai moved with the deliberate precision that had made his species the Concordat's premier military analysts, his multifaceted eyes constantly shifting to absorb every detail of the command center. "Senior Commander," he acknowledged Talvesh with the minimalist greeting typical of his kind. "I've reviewed your situation report. Most concerning." Talvesh gestured toward the tactical display. "The human vessel maintains its position. Their drones have established a perimeter around both our outpost and the Helios colony. 3 cruisers will arrive within the hour." Vorlak made a dismissive gesture with one of his 4 arms. "The cruisers are irrelevant to immediate concerns. I need to understand the human commander's strategy." Strategy. Talvesh's membrane ridges pulsed with confusion. "They have one ship. Whatever their plan, our forces will overwhelm them." "Your assumption betrays a fundamental misunderstanding of human warfare," Vorlak replied, his voice carrying the distinct harmonics of one accustomed to lecturing. "I have dedicated 63 cycles to studying their military history. Do you know what makes them uniquely dangerous?" Talvesh didn't respond, recognizing a rhetorical question. "Humans are paradoxical," Vorlak continued. "Their technology evolves in unpredictable patterns, often prioritizing unusual applications over logical progression. They routinely deploy systems that shouldn't function together efficiently, yet somehow they make them work." He moved to the tactical station, his long fingers dancing across the controls. "Show me everything about this ship, the Defiant." The display shifted, highlighting the human vessel and its specifications as understood by Concordat intelligence. "Unremarkable," Talvesh observed. "Standard destroyer configuration, though our scans indicate some modifications to their propulsion and energy systems." "No," Vorlak leaned closer to the display. "Not unremarkable. Look at the energy signature variances. These aren't simply modifications. This ship is fundamentally different from their standard designs." He manipulated the display further, isolating specific readings. "The power distribution is all wrong for a vessel of this class. They're channeling energy in patterns that contradict their own engineering principles. And these material readings." He paused, his multifaceted eyes narrowing. "The whole composition includes elements we can't identify." Talvesh felt a growing unease. "A prototype, as our intelligence suggested. More than that, I believe this vessel represents a significant technological leap for humanity." Vorlak turned to face the commander. "Has the human captain revealed her demands?" "The release of the colonists at Helios. Nothing more." Vorlak made a sound that approximated skepticism. "Unlikely. Humans rarely deploy advanced military assets for simple retrieval operations." He returned his attention to the display. "What about these drones they've deployed?" Leary stepped forward. "We've been trying to analyze them, arch-strategist. They appear to be simple observation platforms, but they employ some kind of phase-shifting technology that makes them difficult to target or jam." Phase shifting. Vorlak's posture stiffened. "That technology should be beyond their capabilities by at least 3 developmental cycles." A communication alert sounded. "Captain Rice is hailing us," the communication officer announced. On screen, Talvesh ordered. The human captain appeared, her expression as composed as before. "Your time is up, Commander. What is your decision regarding our colonists?" Before Talvesh could respond, Vorlak stepped forward. "Captain Rice, I am Arch-Strategist Vorlak of the Strategic Operations Division. Your presence here constitutes a severe violation of established treaties." A new voice, Rice noted, her eyes studying the Zethrai carefully. Interesting that the Concordat sent a military strategist rather than a diplomat. "Your actions suggest this is a military situation, not a diplomatic one," Vorlak replied. "One ship, no matter how advanced, cannot stand against the Concordat fleet. Whatever your plan, it is doomed to failure." Rice smiled, a gesture that Vorlak found particularly unsettling coming from a human. "Arch-strategist, since you've studied our history, you might recall a human named T.E. Lawrence who once said, 'To make war upon rebellion is messy and slow, like eating soup with a knife.' The Concordat has made the mistake of believing that superior numbers and technology guarantee victory. An interesting philosophical position, but ultimately irrelevant to your current circumstances," Vorlak replied. "We will not release the colonists until the proper legal procedures have been completed." "Then I'm afraid I'll have to insist more forcefully." Rice nodded to someone off-screen. "I had hoped to resolve this peacefully." The tactical display suddenly erupted with alerts. "Sir," the tactical officer called out, "the drones are changing." On the screens, the hundreds of small devices that had been passively monitoring the sector began to transform, unfolding into more complex configurations. "What's happening?" Talvesh demanded. "They're generating some kind of energy field," Leary reported, her voice rising with concern. "It's interfering with our sensor networks and communication relays." "A jamming system," Vorlak realized aloud, "but distributed across hundreds of independent platforms." "Not just jamming," Rice corrected, still visible on the communication display. "Those are Psi-Ardian units, systematic infiltration and reconnaissance emitter nodes. They're mapping every centimeter of your defenses and creating a real-time tactical network that can adapt to your countermeasures." Vorlak felt a chill of recognition. This technology was similar to theoretical systems the Concordat had been developing, but the humans had apparently already implemented it. "Even with these devices, you cannot hope to prevail," he stated, though with less certainty than before. "I don't need to prevail against your entire fleet, Arch-Strategist. I just need to accomplish my mission." Rice leaned forward slightly. "Here's my revised offer. Release our colonists within the next 30 minutes, and we'll depart peacefully. Refuse, and I'll be forced to demonstrate the Defiant's capabilities in a way that will be educational for the Concordat." The communication ended. "She's bluffing," Talvesh said, though his membrane ridges pulsed with uncertainty. Vorlak shook his head slowly. "I don't believe she is. Activate all defensive systems and prepare for engagement." And he hesitated. "Request that the hierarchical command expedite those reinforcements." "You think one human ship poses that significant a threat?" Talvesh asked incredulously. "I think," Vorlak replied, his gaze fixed on the tactical display where the Defiant hung in space surrounded by its network of transformed drones, "that we may have severely underestimated human technological development. And in warfare, underestimation is often the prelude to disaster." As if to punctuate his statement, a new alert sounded. The tactical officer's voice was tight with alarm. "Sir, we're detecting energy buildups throughout the Psi-Ardian network. They're creating some kind of coherent field around our outpost and the Helios colony." "What purpose would such a field serve?" Talvesh wondered aloud. Vorlak's answer was grim. "To isolate us from the rest of the Concordat fleet. They're not preparing to fight our reinforcements. They're ensuring the reinforcements can't interfere with whatever they have planned." On the tactical display, the Defiant began to move, accelerating toward the Helios colony with surprising speed. "Intercept course," Talvesh ordered. Deploy defensive squadrons. Sir, Leary called out, her voice now clearly alarmed. The Defiant is changing. The human vessel's hull seemed to shimmer, sections of it reconfiguring in ways that defied conventional ship design. What had appeared to be a standard destroyer was transforming before their eyes, weapon systems and propulsion arrays emerging from previously hidden compartments. Impossible, Talvesh whispered. No, Vorlak corrected him, a new respect in his voice. Not impossible, simply human. Escalation and deception. Captain Alina Reyes watched the Concordat's defensive squadrons deploy from her command chair, her expression betraying none of the tension she felt. The bridge of the Defiant hummed with controlled activity as her crew prepared for what came next. Sci-Fi network fully activated. Captain, reported Lieutenant Commander Sato from the tactical station. Field integrity at 97%. The Concordat's long-range communications are effectively isolated. Their defensive squadrons? Rides asked. 12 interceptors, standard Concordat configuration. They're moving to establish a blocking formation between us and the Helios colony. Reyes nodded. Everything was proceeding according to the mission parameters. Status of secondary systems. Green across the board. Her first officer, Commander Adam Chen, confirmed. Metamaterial reconfiguration complete. We're showing as a heavy cruiser on their sensors now. And our actual guests. Chen smiled. Waiting in the wings, Captain. Team Bravo is positioned and ready. Reyes allowed herself a small smile in return. The Defiant wasn't just a ship. It was a statement of human ingenuity, designed specifically to challenge the assumptions of species like the Concordat. Its hull incorporated metamaterials that could reconfigure to present different sensor profiles, making a destroyer appear as a cruiser or even multiple smaller vessels. But its most important feature wasn't the ship itself, but what it carried. Open a channel to the outpost, she ordered. A moment later, the alien commander appeared on screen, flanked by the tall, insectoid strategist. This is your final opportunity, Reyes stated without preamble. Release our colonists, or we will retrieve them ourselves. The alien commander, Talvesh, she recalled, responded with predictable defiance. Your vessel is impressive, Captain, but it stands alone against our forces. Stand down and withdraw. I'm afraid you misunderstand the situation, Reyes replied. We never intended to engage your forces directly. That would be inefficient. She nodded to Sato, who activated the next phase of their operation. On the tactical display, dozens of new signals appeared at the edge of the system, small, fast-moving objects accelerating toward the outpost and colony. What is this? The alien strategist's voice carried a note of confusion. Those are Kestrel-class strike craft, Reyes explained. They've been waiting in silent mode at the system's boundary since before we arrived. Impossible, Talvesh objected. Our sensors would have detected them. Your sensors are designed to detect drive signatures and energy emissions, Reyes corrected. The Kestrels use gravity-assisted momentum and passive solar collection when in stealth mode. No emissions to detect. It was a simple application of basic physics, really. The Concordat, like many advanced civilizations, had become reliant on detecting the energy signatures of sophisticated technology. They'd forgotten that sometimes the most effective solution was the simplest one. The Kestrels will reach your defensive perimeter in approximately 7 minutes, Reyes continued. They carry specialized boarding teams trained in Concordat ship systems. I suggest you reconsider my offer before they arrive. The alien strategist leaned forward, his multifaceted eyes gleaming with what might have been reluctant admiration. An impressive stratagem, Captain. But our interceptors will engage your strike craft before they can reach their targets. They can try, Reyes acknowledged. But I should mention that the Sci-Fi network isn't just for communications isolation. It's also mapping your tactical frequencies and defense protocols in real time, feeding that data directly to the Kestrel pilots. She could see the realization dawning on the aliens' faces. The drones they had dismissed as simple observation platforms were actually creating a sophisticated battle space management system, giving the human forces a significant tactical advantage despite their technological disadvantages. You've planned this meticulously, the strategist observed. But there is one factor you cannot have anticipated. The colonists you seek to rescue are not at the Helios facility. Reyes maintained her composure, though internally she processed this new information rapidly. Was it a bluff? Possibly, but she couldn't dismiss it entirely. Explain, she demanded. They were transferred to a secure facility in the adjacent sector 2 days ago, the strategist claimed. This entire operation of yours is pointless. Commander Chen leaned close to her chair. He's lying, Captain. Our intelligence confirmed the colonists were still at Helios as of 18 hours ago. Reyes nodded slightly. A valiant attempt at deception. Arch-strategist, but ineffective. Our intelligence assets within the Concordat have kept us well informed of the colonists' location. This was a calculated bluff of her own. They had no agents within the Concordat, but the suggestion might make the aliens waste resources searching for non-existent spies. Even if you succeed in boarding the colony, Talvesh interjected, you cannot hope to extract 73 colonists before our reinforcements arrive. We don't need to, Reyes replied. We only need to secure access to the detention level's environmental systems. She let the implication hang in the air. It was another bluff. They had no intention of threatening the colonists' safety, but the Concordat didn't know that. You would risk your own people. The alien commander seemed genuinely shocked. I never said we would harm them, Reyes clarified. But the detention level's life support can be isolated from the rest of the colony. We could secure our people while negotiating from a position of strength. On the tactical display, the Kestrels continued their approach, now detected by the Concordat sensors as they activated their main drive systems. The interceptors moved to engage them. Sir, Sado reported quietly, Team Bravo is in position. Reyes nodded almost imperceptibly, then refocused on the aliens. Your interceptors are now committed to engaging the Kestrels. This means your outpost's immediate defenses are reduced by approximately 60%. A necessary allocation of resources, the strategist responded. Your strike craft pose the more immediate threat. Do they? Reyes asked, allowing a small smile. Or are they precisely where I want your forces focused? Before the aliens could respond, new alerts flashed across their visible command displays. The strategist turned sharply towards something off-screen, his body language conveying sudden alarm. What is happening at the colony? He demanded to someone outside the communication frame. It seems my distraction worked, Reyes observed calmly. While your attention was focused on the Defiant and the approaching Kestrels, Team Bravo was able to breach the colony's secondary access points. There is no Team Bravo, the alien commander insisted. Our sensors show no other human vessels in the system. That's because Team Bravo was already here, Reyes explained. Infiltrated into the colony's maintenance staff 3 weeks ago, posing as contracted labor from one of your allied species. This was the true purpose of the mission, not a frontal assault, but a precisely coordinated extraction operation. The Defiant and the Kestrels were simply the visible elements, designed to draw attention and resources away from the real insertion team that had been in place for weeks. That's not possible, Talvesh stammered. All contractor personnel undergo genetic verification. Genetic verification that relies on comparison to known baseline markers for each species, Reyes pointed out. Our operatives underwent temporary genetic modification to match those markers. It's amazing what you can accomplish with primitive human medical technology when applied creatively. The strategist's posture had changed completely, his earlier confidence replaced by what appeared to be growing respect mixed with concern. You infiltrated operators disguised as non-humans, staged a diversion with stealth craft, deployed an advanced network of tactical drones, and presented a reconfigurable warship as the centerpiece of your operation. All while making you believe we were planning a direct military confrontation, Reyes confirmed. Humans learned long ago that when facing a technologically superior adversary, The path to victory lies not in matching their strength, but in exploiting their assumptions. Captain, Chen interrupted quietly. Team Bravo reports they've secured the detention level. Colonists are being prepared for extraction. Reyes nodded, then addressed the aliens once more. Your reinforcements won't arrive in time, and your interceptors are now too committed to the Kestrel engagement to be recalled effectively. I suggest you stand down and allow us to complete our extraction peacefully. For a long moment, the command center of Outpost Valoris 9 was silent as the alien leaders digested the full implications of what had occurred. They had been outmaneuvered not through superior technology or firepower, but through a carefully orchestrated series of deceptions and counterintuitive tactics. You have demonstrated considerable tactical acumen, the strategist finally acknowledged. However, this incident will have serious diplomatic repercussions. Perhaps, Reyes agreed, or perhaps it will lead to a revaluation of how the Concordat approaches relations with humanity. We prefer cooperation to conflict, but we will always protect our people. The alien commander seemed about to respond when a new alert sounded from somewhere in their command center. His membrane ridges fluttered with obvious alarm. The colonists' containment fields have been deactivated, he reported, turning to the strategist. They're being moved toward the southern maintenance base, which conveniently connect to the service tunnels where we have evacuation transports waiting. Reyes added, as I said, this operation was planned meticulously. The strategist regarded her with what might have been a new species equivalent of respect. It seems we have underestimated humanity's capacity for asymmetric warfare, a mistake we will not repeat. I hope instead you'll reconsider the value of peaceful relations, Reyes countered. This operation was necessary only because diplomatic channels failed our people. Captain, Chen reported, Team Bravo reports all colonists secured and moving to evacuation points. Estimated 15 minutes to complete extraction. Reyes nodded, then addressed the aliens one final time. Your interceptors can continue engaging the Kestrels, or they can return to defend the colony. Either way, our mission will be completed before your reinforcements arrive. The choice is yours, Commander. The screen went dark as she ended the transmission. Status of the Sirian network, she asked. Maintaining field integrity, Sedo reported. The Concordat is attempting to disrupt it, but their efforts are being adapted to in real time, as expected. Reyes leaned back in her command chair, allowing herself a moment of satisfaction. The mission was proceeding exactly as planned, a testament to human ingenuity against the technological superiority of the Concordat. Have the Kestrels begin their disengagement sequence, she ordered. They've served their purpose as a distraction, and prepare to receive our colonists. As her crew carry out her orders, Captain Alina Reyes reflected on the message this operation would send throughout the galaxy. Humanity might not have the most advanced technology or the largest fleets, but they had something perhaps more valuable: the ability to think beyond conventional parameters and turn apparent disadvantages into strategic advantages. It was a lesson the Galactic Concordat would not soon forget. The Wrath of Earth. Arch-strategist for Locke paced the command center of Outpost Valoris 9, his forearms clasped behind his back in a posture his species adopted during intense analysis. The tactical display showed a battlefield in flux. The human Kestrel craft were now disengaging from the Concordat interceptors, executing evasive maneuvers that defied standard combat doctrine. They're retreating, Talvesh asked, his membrane ridges pulsing with cautious optimism. No, Vorlak corrected. They're repositioning. The distraction has served its purpose. Their infiltration team is already extracting the colonists. He turned to the tactical officer. Status of our reinforcements. The cruisers report significant navigational interference, the officer replied. The human Sirian network is projecting false gravitational readings throughout the approach vectors. Estimated arrival now delayed by 23 minutes. 23 minutes. Too long. The humans would be gone by then, along with the colonists. What about the extraction team of the colony? Talvesh asked. Colonial security forces are attempting to seal the maintenance tunnels, but they report difficulties. The communications officer seemed reluctant to elaborate. Explain, Vorlak demanded. The human operatives appear to be using some kind of adaptive countermeasures against our security systems. Doors that should be locked are opening. Surveillance systems are showing false feeds. It's as if. The officer hesitated. As if what? As if our systems are being manipulated by someone with intimate knowledge of Concordat security architecture. Vorlak felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. This was beyond simple infiltration. They've compromised our systems at a fundamental level, likely before this operation even began. Impossible. Talvesh objected. Our cybersecurity is designed to repel external intrusions. Vorlak interrupted. But what if the intrusion came from within? A sleeper protocol, perhaps introduced months or even cycles ago, waiting for activation. We would have detected such intrusions during routine security sweeps, argued the security officer, though with noticeable uncertainty. Would we? Vorlak turned to face the outpost's senior staff. The fundamental weakness of our approach to the humans has been assuming their technology operates according to the same principles as ours. What if their infiltration methods are based on principles we don't even monitor for? A new alert sounded, its urgent tone drawing all eyes to the tactical display. The Defiant is moving, announced the tactical officer. It's accelerating toward our position. Intercept course? Talvesh asked. Not exactly. It appears to be establishing a position between our outpost and the colony, and its configuration is changing again. On the display, the human vessel transformed once more, its hull reconfiguring to present a different profile. What had appeared as a heavy cruiser now seemed to contract, becoming more compact, with weapons systems retracting into protected compartments. They're adopting a defensive posture, Vorlak observed, creating a shield between our forces and their extraction operation. Sir, energy readings from the Defiant are fluctuating in unusual patterns, reported the science officer. It appears to be generating some kind of field effect that's interfering with our targeting systems. Re-establish communication with Captain Reyes, Vorlak ordered. I want to understand their next move. The communication system activated, but instead of the human captain, the screen showed only static. Unable to establish connection. The communications officer reported. They're blocking our signals. Use emergency frequencies. All channels are encountering the same interference. Vorlak's analysis subroutines worked furiously. The humans had shifted from offensive operations to a defensive stance, but why block communications now? Unless they're preparing for their final extraction, he realized aloud. The communication blackout is to prevent us from coordinating a response. A sudden, blinding flash appeared on the tactical display, temporarily overloading its sensors. When the display cleared, it showed a new development at the Helios colony. A series of small explosions had disabled the colony's primary defensive systems. What was that? Talvesh demanded. Precision strikes against the colony's weapon emplacements and shield generators, the tactical officer reported. Minimal collateral damage. They've effectively neutralized the colony's ability to prevent the extraction. But how? The Defiant didn't fire, and the Kestrels are still engaged with our interceptors. I believe, Vorlak said slowly, we are witnessing the deployment of yet another human asset we failed to anticipate. As if confirming his assessment, new signals appeared on the tactical display. Small, fast-moving objects rising from the surface of the colony itself. Evacuation transports. The tactical officer identified them. 7 of them, launching from different points around the colony. They appear to be carrying the human colonists. Intercept them, Talvesh ordered. We can't, came the frustrated reply. Our remaining defensive squadrons can't disengage from the Kestrels without being destroyed, and the colony's own defenses have been neutralized. Vorlak watched the tactical situation unfold with a growing sense of professional admiration mixed with concern. The humans had orchestrated a multi-layered operation that anticipated and countered every standard Concordat response. They had turned the Concordat's own assumptions against them, using seemingly primitive technology in ways that bypassed advanced defensive systems. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Defiant. Audio only." "Let's hear it," Vorlak ordered. Captain Rice's voice filled the command center, calm and controlled. "Arch-strategist, our colonists are now secure and en route to the Defiant. I want to thank you for the educational exchange. I believe both our civilizations have learned something valuable today." Vorlak gestured for the communication channel to be opened. "Indeed we have, Captain. Though I must point out that this incident will have significant diplomatic repercussions. Perhaps," Rise acknowledged, "or perhaps it will lead to more equitable relations between our peoples. The Concordat has long treated humanity as a lesser species to be managed rather than engaged as equals. Today should demonstrate the folly of that approach. Your technological capabilities have proven unexpected," Vorlak admitted, "but one successful operation does not redefine the balance of power in this sector." "Balance of power?" There was a hint of amusement in the human's voice. "Arch-strategist, if you believe this operation represents the full extent of human military capability, you've missed the point entirely. The Defiant is a prototype, yes, but not of our most advanced technology. Rather, it demonstrates our approach to warfare itself." The evacuation transports were now approaching the Defiant, which had reconfigured once more to extend docking bays for their reception. "You see," Rise continued, "throughout our history, humans have faced existential threats from nature, from each other, and now from the stars. We've survived not by developing linear technological progression, but by thinking orthogonally to the problem." "Meaning?" Talvesh asked, unable to hide his curiosity. "Meaning that when faced with a superior force, we don't try to match it directly. We change the nature of the confrontation. You rely on energy shields, so we developed kinetic penetrators. You use quantum communications, so we created analog disruption methods. You depend on AI-driven tactical systems, so we employed unpredictable human decision-making to confuse them." Vorlak found himself nodding in understanding. This explains so much about the inexplicable success of human military operations throughout their brief but violent history. "A fascinating philosophical approach to warfare," he acknowledged. "But it doesn't change the fact that you have violated Concordat space and abducted detainees from a secure facility." "Rescued," Rise corrected. "And as for violations, I believe our diplomatic courts has already filed 17 formal complaints regarding the illegal detention of those colonists. Complaints that were systematically ignored or delayed." The tactical display showed the evacuation transports successfully docking with the Defiant. The Siren network was beginning to contract, pulling back toward the human vessel. "Our mission is complete," Rise announced. "We will be departing your space within the hour. The Siren network will deactivate once we've cleared the sector, restoring your normal operations." "And the infiltration team?" "The one posing as maintenance workers. Already extracted. They were among the first to board the evacuation transports. A good strategist never leaves assets behind." Vorlak couldn't help but appreciate the thoroughness of the human operation. "One question, Captain, before you depart. This infiltration of our systems, how was it accomplished?" There was a pause before Rais answered. 3 months ago, the Concordat purchased a new communication encryption suite from the Trellix Corporation, a seemingly independent technology vendor operating in neutral space. "Yes," Talvesh confirmed. "Standard procurement procedure." "The Trellix Corporation doesn't exist," Rise revealed. "It was a front created by United Earth Intelligence specifically to introduce modified systems into the Concordat infrastructure. The encryption suite contained dormant protocols that could be activated remotely when needed. The implications were staggering. That level of long-term strategic planning," Vorlak couldn't finish the thought, "is exactly what humanity has always excelled at, Rice completed for him. Now I suggest you prepare your after-action report for the hierarchical command. I imagine there will be significant interest in how a single human vessel managed to outmaneuver the vaunted Concordat defensive network. The communication ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Can we still prevent their departure? Talvesh asked finally. Vorlak shook his head. Not without risking a broader conflict. And after what we've witnessed today, I'm not certain such a conflict would resolve in our favor, despite our apparent technological advantages. He moved to the central platform, addressing the entire command staff. We have witnessed something remarkable today, a demonstration of warfare that transcends technology. The humans didn't win because they had better ships or weapons. They won because they approached the problem from angles we didn't anticipate. What will you report to the hierarchical command? Talvesh asked quietly. Vorlak's multifaceted eyes gleamed with newfound respect for their human adversaries. The truth, that we have fundamentally misunderstood humanity's capacity for asymmetric warfare, and that perhaps it is time for the Concordat to reconsider its approach to this young, but remarkably adaptive species. On the tactical display, the Defiant was already accelerating away from the Helios colony, its mission accomplished with a precision and creativity that would be studied in Concordat war colleges for cycles to come. The wrath of Earth, Vorlak reflected, came not in overwhelming firepower or advanced technology, but in humanity's boundless capacity to innovate, to adapt, and to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds through sheer ingenuity. It was, perhaps, the most dangerous quality of all. A new understanding. The Grand Assembly Chamber of the Galactic Concordat hummed with tense discussion as representatives from 17 species debated the implications of what was now being called the Defiant Incident. Holographic displays projected tactical analyses and damage reports, while diplomatic channels buzzed with formal protests and counter-protests between United Earth and the Concordat leadership. High Arbiter Lethmera, the ancient Veshtai who had overseen the Concordat's diplomatic corps for over 30 cycles, observed the proceedings with the wariness of one who had seen too many conflicts begin from such exchanges. Her gaze settled on arch-strategist Vorlak, who stood before the assembly presenting his analysis of the human operation. The operation was executed with precision across multiple domains. Vorlak explained, his four arms gesturing to highlight different aspects of the tactical display. The humans employed technological deception, infiltration tactics, electronic warfare, and psychological operations in a coordinated strategy that anticipated our responses at every turn. One primitive vessel against the might of the Concordat, scoffed Representative Drawl of the militant Ketferi Directorate. This is an embarrassment that demands retribution. That primitive vessel successfully extracted 73 human colonists from one of our secure facilities while neutralizing our defensive capabilities with minimal casualties. Vorlak countered. I would suggest that dismissing their achievement as luck or aberration would be a dangerous miscalculation. High Arbiter Lethmera's voice cut through the rising arguments, her tone carrying the authority of her position. Arch-strategist Vorlak has spent more time studying human military doctrine than anyone in this chamber. I suggest we listen to his assessment before determining our response. The chamber quieted, though the tension remained palpable. The humans refer to their approach as asymmetric warfare. Vorlak continued. Rather than matching strength against strength, they identify systemic vulnerabilities and exploit them through unexpected vectors. The Defiant itself represents this philosophy, a vessel designed not to outgun our ships, but to outthink our tactical doctrines. He manipulated the holographic display, showing the various configurations the Defiant had demonstrated during the encounter. Its metamaterial hull allows it to present different sensor signatures, confusing identification and targeting systems. The Siren network demonstrated distributed electronic warfare capabilities beyond what we believed humans had developed, and their infiltration tactics revealed a level of long-term strategic planning we had not credited them with. What is your recommendation, Arch-strategist? Asked Lethmera. Vorlak paused, aware that his next words would be controversial. I recommend a fundamental reassessment of our approach to humanity. Their technological development may not follow the same linear progression as other species, but they have demonstrated capabilities that make them a significant power in their own right. You suggest we treat these upstarts as equals. Dral's voice was leaden with contempt. I suggest we treat them as they have proven themselves to be, Vorlak replied evenly. A species that compensates for technological disparities through innovation and unconventional approaches. Before the debate could intensify further, a communication alert sounded. High Arbiter, announced the Chamber's protocol officer, we are receiving a direct transmission from United Earth. Their diplomatic vessel has arrived at the outer marker and requests permission to address the assembly. Murmurs spread throughout the chamber. This was unprecedented. No human representative had ever addressed the full assembly before. Lethmera considered for a moment, then nodded. Grant permission. Let us hear what they have to say. The central holographic display shifted, and a human figure materialized. A woman with dark skin and silver-streaked hair, dressed in the formal blue uniform of the United Earth Diplomatic Corps. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Concordat, she began, her voice clear and measured. I am Ambassador Sophia Chen of United Earth. I appreciate the opportunity to address this august body directly. Lethmera leaned forward slightly. Ambassador Chen, your arrival is unexpected. We are currently discussing the recent incursion of a United Earth military vessel into Concordat space, an act that constitutes a serious treaty violation. That is precisely why I have come, High Arbiter, Chen replied, to address both the incident itself and the underlying conditions that made it necessary. She gestured, and a holographic display shifted to show documentation. Formal diplomatic protests filed by United Earth regarding the detained colonists. Over the past 3 months, United Earth submitted 17 formal diplomatic requests regarding our citizens detained at the Helios colony. Each was acknowledged but never substantively addressed. Our citizens remain detained without proper legal representation or clear charges, in violation of the Arcturus Accords. The colonists violated sovereign Concordat space, Representative Dral interjected. They were being processed according to our laws. The navigation error that brought them into disputed territory was caused by a spatial anomaly, Chen countered. An anomaly that Concordat survey vessels had documented but failed to include in the navigational warnings distributed to non-Concordat vessels. We have the sensor logs to prove it. She produced another set of documents. Concordat survey reports predating the colonists' incursion. This is outrageous, Dral began, but Lethmera raised a hand to silence him. Continue, Ambassador, she instructed. The hunt begins. Maya Chen crouched motionless in the hollow of a massive tree trunk, her breathing shallow and controlled. The air on this alien world smelled wrong, too sweet, with undertones of copper and something like rotting fruit. 20 years as a Special Forces operative before becoming a wilderness survival guide had taught her patience. That patience was keeping her alive now. 3 days ago, she had been leading an expedition through the Canadian Rockies. Her clients had returned to base camp while Maya scouted ahead for the next day's route. The strange light had appeared without warning, brilliant blue, enveloping her completely. Then darkness. When she woke, she was here, wherever here was. A strange chattering sound echoed through the forest. Maya pressed herself deeper into the tree hollow. Through a small gap, she watched as something moved between the iridescent purple-leaved trees. It walked upright like a human but stood nearly 9 feet tall. Its body was covered in segmented armor that shifted colors to match the surrounding vegetation. Where a face should be, 4 mandibles clicked and moved around a circular mouth lined with teeth. The creature carried what looked like a spear, but the tip glowed with energy. Behind it walked 2 more identical beings, similarly armed. Between them stumbled a human man, hands bound behind his back. His face was bruised, his clothes torn and dirty. He looked terrified. "Please," the man begged, his voice hoarse. "I have a family. Children." The lead creature made a series of clicks that almost sounded like laughter. It raised a device to its mandibles and spoke. A mechanical voice translated, "Run. You have until the second sun reaches peak. Then we hunt." The creatures cut the man's bonds. He stood frozen for a moment, then bolted into the forest. The aliens watched him go, their mandibles moving in what Maya recognized as excitement. Maya remained hidden long after they had gone, processing what she had witnessed. These creatures, whatever they were hunting humans for sport. When she finally emerged from hiding, she moved with extreme caution, using every skill she had learned in 2 decades of military service and wilderness expertise. Night fell, bringing twin moons that cast an eerie blue glow over the landscape. Maya found a small stream and followed it, reasoning that water meant life, possibly shelter, and maybe other humans. The water had a faint luminescent quality, but testing revealed it was safe to drink. "Don't move," came a whisper from behind her. Maya froze, then slowly raised her hands. "I'm human," she said quietly. A man emerged from the shadows, followed by a woman. Both were gaunt and dressed in tattered clothes, with crude weapons fashioned from stones and branches. "American?" the man asked, his accent suggesting Eastern European origins. Maya nodded. "Canadian citizen. Former U.S. Special Forces. Name's Maya Chen." The woman lowered her makeshift spear. "Sofija. Croatia. This is Dmitri from Russia. You're new. When did they take you?" 3 days ago, I think. Hard to tell with the strange day cycles here." Dmitri gestured for her to follow. "Come. Not safe here. They hunt at night too, sometimes." They led Maya to a cave hidden behind a waterfall. Inside, a small fire burned, and around it sat 5 more humans, 2 women and 3 men from various parts of Earth. They looked up with tired, wary eyes as Maya entered. "Another one," said a dark-skinned woman with close-cropped hair and a British accent. "I'm Amara. Doctor. Kenya originally. Practiced in London." Maya nodded to each person as they introduced themselves. The group had been here for varying periods. The newest 3 weeks, the longest almost a year. They called their captors the Vorketh. "They're hunters," explained Raj, a former software engineer from Mumbai. "We're their game animals. They take us from Earth, drop us here, and hunt us for sport. Those with good trophies get status in their society." "Trophies?" Maya asked, though she already suspected the answer. Amara touched her scalp. "They take parts of us. Scalps mostly. Sometimes hands." As the night deepened, they shared what they knew. The Vorketh hunting parties communicated with devices on their wrists. They had a central compound somewhere to the north. They operated with some kind of honor code, giving prey a sporting chance before the hunt began in earnest. "They have technology far beyond ours," said Dmitri. "Energy weapons, camouflage armor, devices that can create force barriers. But they're not invincible," Maya said, thinking. "Every predator has weaknesses." The next morning, Maya convinced the group to let her scout the area. Her military training took over as she mapped the terrain mentally, noting landmarks, water sources, and potential ambush points. She moved silently through the forest, observing the Vorketh from hiding. By midday, she had witnessed another hunt. This time, the prey was a young woman who couldn't have been more than 20. The girl ran desperately, but had no wilderness training. The Vorketh toyed with her, herding her toward a clearing where the lead hunter made the kill with a ceremonial blade rather than an energy weapon. Maya forced herself to watch, memorizing the Vorketh's movements, their tactics, their weaknesses. One detail caught her attention. When the lead hunter accidentally stepped into a patch of earth plants that one of the human survivors must have cultivated, it recoiled as if burned. Its skin blistered where it had contacted the leaves. Some chemical in earth vegetation was toxic to them. When Maya returned to the cave, she brought this observation and something else. Hope. They have weaknesses, she told the group. Their skin reacts to certain earth plants. And they're overconfident. They don't expect us to fight back. Fight back? Sophie just scoffed. With what? Sticks against energy weapons. Maya smiled grimly. We start small. Set traps. Learn more about their weaknesses, take their weapons, and build from there. Over the next week, Maya taught the group basic military tactics, adapted for their situation. They gathered earth plants that had been brought accidentally with previous captives and had somehow thrived in this alien environment. They mapped Vorkath patrol routes and hunting grounds. Their first trap was simple, a covered pit lined with crushed earth plants. They positioned it on a narrow trail where Vorkath hunters regularly passed. Maya insisted they test everything multiple times, refining their tactics with each practice run. 3 days later, a lone Vorkath scout followed the false trail they had laid. It stepped onto the concealed pit and crashed through. The alien's screams were like nothing Maya had ever heard, high-pitched clicks and whistles that hurt human ears. When they approached the pit, the Vorkath was writhing in agony, its skin bubbling where it contacted the earth plants. Maya didn't hesitate. She jumped into the pit with a sharpened stick and drove it through the alien's eye socket, into what she hoped was its brain. The Vorkath convulsed once, then went still. Its weapons, Maya said urgently. Get them before any others come. Mitri and Raj quickly stripped the dead alien of its equipment, an energy spear, wrist communicator, and several devices they didn't recognize. They retreated quickly to their cave. That night, Raj, using his engineering background, began the painstaking process of understanding the alien technology. The wrist device included maps of the hunting grounds and, more importantly, translator functions. This changes everything, Maya said as they gathered around their fire. Now we can understand them, track them, and use their own technology against them. They'll know something's wrong when their scout doesn't return, Amara pointed out. Maya nodded. Good. Let them worry. Let them wonder. The best hunters are the ones the prey never sees coming. Over the next month, they ambushed isolated Vorkath hunters, gradually accumulating weapons and technology. Maya insisted they leave no survivors. Each dead Vorkath must appear to have suffered an accident, a fall from a cliff, drowning in a river. Their goal was to create uncertainty and fear among the hunters. Their group grew as they found and rescued other human captives. Maya organized them into teams: fighters, technologists, medics, and scouts. They relocated their base several times, eventually establishing a hidden compound in a network of caves beneath a waterfall. The rushing water masked their heat signatures from Vorkath scanners. Raj made a breakthrough with the communication devices, managing to hack into the Vorkath network. They began to intercept communications, learning the aliens' language and customs. They discovered the Vorkath were a hierarchical species obsessed with status. Hunting prowess determined one's place in society. The hunting preserves, and there were many, with various captive species, were how young Vorkath proved their worth. They're getting nervous, Raj reported after intercepting a message from what appeared to be a Vorkath commander. Too many hunters missing. They're sending a security team to investigate. Maya gathered her lieutenants, Mitri, Sophia, Amara, and Raj. Then it's time to take this to the next level. We need to capture one alive. We need information about their compound, their numbers, their full capabilities. The ambush was set at a narrow canyon where the Vorkath security team would likely pass. They used the toxic earth plants as a barrier to funnel the aliens into their trap. When the 4-member security team arrived, Maya's fighters attacked from multiple directions with stolen energy weapons. 3 Vorkath died in the initial assault. The 4th, a smaller individual with distinctive blue markings on its armor, they managed to subdue and capture. Back at their compound, they secured the Vorkath to a stone slab. Using the translation device, Maya began her interrogation. "Why do you hunt us?" she demanded. The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly. The translator converted. It is the way. Lesser species exist to prove the prowess of the Vorkath. It has always been so. Where is your main compound? How many Vorkath are there? The alien refused to answer, but its silence told Maya something important. It was afraid. These creatures weren't used to their prey fighting back, asking questions, capturing them. You fear us now, Maya said, leaning close to the alien's face. Good. You should, because we're no longer your prey. Now, you're ours. The Vorkath's mandibles clicked frantically. The translator struggled to keep up. Impossible. Humans are primitive. Weak. Maya smiled coldly. You've made a terrible mistake. On our world, we were the apex predators. And you've just reminded us how good we are at hunting. The hunters become the hunted. Dawn broke over the alien forest, casting an eerie purple light through the canopy. Maya stood at the entrance of their cave compound, watching the twin suns rise. Behind her, 53 humans prepared for what might be their most dangerous mission yet. 3 months had passed since they captured the Vorkath scout. Through a combination of intimidation and leverage, they discovered the Vorkath required a specific mineral in their diet that humans could withhold. They extracted crucial information. The main hunting lodge lay 30 kilometers north, a massive structure that served as both command center and luxury accommodation for elite Vorkath hunters. More importantly, it housed the teleportation technology that brought humans from Earth. The captured Vorkath, whom they called Blue for its armor markings, had eventually revealed another critical fact. The Vorkath weren't alone in running these hunting preserves. They employed an enslaved species called the Trellix to handle maintenance, food production, and other menial tasks beneath Vorkath dignity. The Trellix look almost like Earth reptiles, Raj explained to the assembled fighters, displaying a crude drawing based on Blue's descriptions. Scaled skin, large eyes, about our height but slimmer. They're technically advanced, but have been subjugated by the Vorkath for generations. Maya stepped forward. This changes our approach. The Trellix could be potential allies if we can reach them. The plan they developed was audacious. A small team led by Maya would infiltrate the perimeter of the hunting lodge, make contact with the Trellix workers, and attempt to form an alliance. Meanwhile, the main group would prepare for a larger assault once they had inside help. Maya selected her team carefully. Mitri for his stealth, Amara for her diplomatic skills, and Raj for his technical expertise. They set out at nightfall, each equipped with stolen Vorkath technology, including camouflage devices that helped mask their heat signatures. The journey took 2 days, moving only at night, hiding during daylight. As they approached the lodge perimeter, the forest gave way to carefully manicured grounds with alien vegetation arranged in geometric patterns. Guard towers dotted the landscape, manned by Vorkath sentries with scanning equipment. There, Raj whispered, pointing to a small outbuilding near a waste disposal area. Minimal security, and according to Blue's information, that's where Trellix workers would take breaks during their shifts. They waited until the guard rotation created a brief window of opportunity, then sprinted across open ground to the outbuilding. Inside, 3 Trellix were sitting around a table, consuming what appeared to be nutrient paste. They froze when the humans entered, their large, multifaceted eyes widening in alarm. Amara stepped forward slowly, hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. "We come as friends," she said, activating a stolen translation device. "We fight against the Vorkath. We seek alliance." The Trellix exchanged glances. The largest one, with intricate patterns on its scales, responded cautiously. "Humans never approach lodge. Humans are prey. Why should we believe you are different?" Maya stepped forward, placing a deactivated Vorkath energy weapon on the table. "Because prey doesn't take trophies from hunters. We've killed many Vorkath. Now we want to end their hunting forever." The revelation that humans had successfully fought back against the Vorkath clearly shocked the Trellix. After a tense discussion in their own language, The lead Trellix introduced himself as Verix. Many cycles ago, Vorketh came to our world, took our technology, made us serve. We build and maintain their hunting lodges across many worlds. Verix's eyes blinked rapidly. Some Trellix have thoughts of resistance, but Vorketh hold our homeworld hostage. Maya recognized an opportunity. Then we have common cause. Help us defeat the Vorketh here, and it could be the first step toward freeing your people. Over the next several hours, Verix shared invaluable information about the lodge's layout, security systems, and vulnerabilities. Most crucially, he revealed that in 3 days, many of the highest-ranking Vorketh would be gathering for a ceremony celebrating the season's most successful hunters. Lodge will have minimal security inside. Most guards at ceremony, Verix explained. I can help 4 humans enter through maintenance tunnels. Maya sent Mitri back to their base with the new information while she, Raj, and Amara remained hidden in the Trellix quarters, learning everything they could about Vorketh systems and technology. Verix introduced them to other Trellix who secretly harbored anti-Vorketh sentiments. From them, they learned that the hunting preserves were just one aspect of Vorketh cruelty. The Vorketh Empire spanned dozens of star systems, all built on the subjugation of lesser species. They believed themselves evolved from perfect predators, explained a Trellix engineer named Zex. Their religion teaches that hunting is sacred communion with ancestors. To fail as hunter is to fail as Vorketh. Raj worked with Zex to understand the teleportation technology. If we control this, we could potentially send people back to Earth, he told Maya excitedly, or bring reinforcements. On the 3rd day, as the twin suns reached their zenith, Verix led Maya's team through narrow maintenance tunnels beneath the hunting lodge. Above them, they could hear the rhythmic clicking and stamping that signaled the beginning of the Vorketh ceremony. The central control room was sparsely guarded. Just 2 Vorketh technicians who never expected an attack from within their own facility. Maya and Amara neutralized them silently with toxic earth plant extract applied to thin blades. Raj and the Trellix engineers worked feverishly at the control systems, locking down sections of the facility, disabling alarm systems, and most importantly, gaining access to the teleportation grid. We have control of internal security, Raj announced after 30 tense minutes, and I've managed to send a signal to our base. Dmitri and the others will attack the external perimeter in 1 hour, creating a diversion while we control the facility from within. Maya nodded. And the teleportation system? Partially operational. We can't send anyone to Earth yet. The coordinates are locked with Vorketh genetic keys, but we can bring more humans here from the hunting grounds. Outside, the ceremony continued, unaware of the infiltration. Maya studied the security feeds showing hundreds of Vorketh gathered in an amphitheater. On a raised platform, hunters displayed their trophies, including, Maya noted with cold fury, parts of human bodies preserved as grotesque mementos. Time to turn the tables, she said. Verix, can we control the environmental systems in the amphitheater? The Trellix nodded, his scaled fingers moving across the alien interface. Yes. What do you require? Seal the exits, then flood the chamber with water vapor. Water, they had discovered, was caustic to Vorketh skin in high concentrations, not immediately fatal but intensely painful and disorienting. Perfect for creating chaos. As Verix implemented Maya's instructions, Raj activated the facility-wide communication system. Maya stepped up to the translator device. Attention, Vorketh, she said, her voice echoing throughout the facility and grounds. Your hunting days are over. Your prey has become the predator. On the security feeds, they watched confusion spread through the amphitheater as Maya's translated voice boomed from speakers. Then panic as steam began pouring from vents, filling the space with moisture that caused Vorketh skin to blister and burn. Outside the facility, right on schedule, explosions rocked the perimeter as Mitri led the human assault force against the distracted external guards. They had fashioned crude but effective bombs from stolen Vorketh technology, targeting power generators and weapon caches. "We need to secure the armory," Maya told Amara. "Raj, stay here with the Trellix and maintain control of the systems." Maya and Amara fought their way through the facility, encountering surprisingly little resistance. Most Vorketh were either at the ceremony or responding to the external attack. Those they did encounter were unprepared for humans wielding Vorketh weapons and knowing the layout of their own facility. In the armory, they found enough energy weapons to equip every human in their resistance. They also discovered something unexpected: massive canisters of the earth plant extract they had been using as a weapon, concentrated and refined. They were studying our weapons against them, Amara realized. But they've just given us an arsenal. As Dmitri's forces breached the main entrance, Maya directed them to distribute the weapons and plant toxin. Within hours, they controlled the entire facility. Hundreds of Vorketh were captured, many injured but alive. In the control room, Raj made another breakthrough. "I've managed to access their communication network. We can broadcast to other hunting preserves, maybe even to Trellix on other worlds." Maya considered this. "Do it. Tell everyone, humans, Trellix, any captive species, that the hunters can be defeated. That we've done it here." The days that followed were chaotic but productive. They discovered thousands of humans in stasis pods, awaiting release into the hunting grounds. With Raj and the Trellix engineers' help, they began the process of reviving them safely. From captured Vorketh commanders, they learned the coordinates of other hunting preserves and the location of the Trellix homeworld. With the teleportation technology now partially under their control, they could begin coordinating a wider resistance. 1 month after taking the facility, Maya stood on the balcony that once belonged to the Vorketh High Hunter, looking out over what had been hunting grounds and was now becoming a human settlement. Beside her stood Verix. "What will you do now?" the Trellix asked. "Return to Earth." Maya shook her head. "Not yet. The Vorketh Empire is vast. There are more hunting grounds, more enslaved species, more worlds under their control. We've only just begun." "The Vorketh never expected their prey to hunt them back," Verix observed. "That was their first mistake," Maya replied, watching as humans and Trellix worked together below, dismantling Vorketh hunting trophies and building something new. They chose the wrong species to hunt. Humans don't just survive. We fight back. In what had been the central showcase for Vorketh trophies, a new monument was taking shape, a simple obelisk bearing the names of humans who had died in the hunting grounds. At its base, inscribed in multiple languages including Vorketh and Trellix, were words Maya had chosen herself. "They hunted us for sport. Now they know. On any world, in any galaxy, humanity is not prey."